So I just started Spider-Man Noir. I got a few things I want to talk about with it. So let's start off with the everything we learned. First, we know first time we saw the show, it was the first photos, right? I believe the first things that we saw of Spider-Man Noir. It was the big old glowing eyes of the guy, and I was pretty excited for it. Trailers came out; they look good. There's certain things about it I think everyone kind of acted weird about, but overall, I was pretty pumped. Well, it came out today. All 8 episodes. I didn't know they were doing all 8 on the first day. I kind of forgot it was coming out today, but I didn't know they were dropping all 8. So, thought I would do 1 and 2 to start off the day. I'm going to keep going throughout the day and making videos and stuff, but we'll get through this as quick as we can. So, episode 1 starts off, and you can feel it right away, like, okay, they're trying to set up kind of his backstory and get to it. You know what I mean? So he does a little bit of a flashback shot, which you see a few from the trailer. I think you see that swinging shot from the trailer. In that shot, you also see like his spoiler alert, his wife or whatever, his wife, drowning, and you can tell they're going back, like they're gonna show more of that for sure because they keep showing that shot, and there's no way they shot that shot if they're not planning on using it. But so you get through that, you kind of see that he had his moment of giving up, which I'm happy they did now because I thought it's an annoying trope when they always give up the suit and then they don't have the suit for most of the show. Also, I want to say people that are gonna get frustrated, because I'm sure there will be, where there's not enough Spider-Man. It's a TV show. You know, it's not a $200 million budget movie for Spider-Man. So you got to accept the swinging you get because that's what, they can work with the budget that they have. And we'll get to more because it was actually some pleasant surprises in there. But so episode 1's going. You're really getting an introduction to characters. The first thing I really noticed in the first episode was the writing. The writing was very, very good. I think Nick Cage is always going to do a wild character, but he at least kept good to the script, and it runs really, really well. It like everything he's saying works well when he's talking to Cat Hardy. He's one of the funnier lines is pretty much him talking about how his confidence is, and he should have ended it putting his head in the stove, but he's too much of a wuss. But it was great. He everything he does when he's talking is great. Anytime he talks to his secretary, is Jackie, I believe is her name. They work really well. I will say they need to chill out on they've already twice, I think, her trying to leave. And it's like, you don't need to keep doing that. Hopefully when I get to the second episode, we'll say why, but hopefully that'll be the last time. But yes, writing is great. He obviously is doing a lot of detective work. It's a lot of detective work so far, but that's okay because you're doing a lot of character setup. You see, one of the weirder parts kind of took me out right away was the other PI, the other private investigator, hitting him with the door when he was chasing down the pyro guy. I'm like, okay, that was kind of goofy, but it was all right. It wasn't that big of a deal. And they got to the reasons why. They started to figure out, like, oh, he paid me 50, but he only paid me 30. It made sense. It all worked out. It was just a little goofy in the moment. I'm like, what's happening? But it was fine. And so they're chasing down this pyro guy. They learn he's a pyro guy. I don't actually know what character he was supposed to be. I didn't pause it to look. I know it was like Addison was his last name, which didn't ring a bell to me. If someone knows, let me know, please. But so the other PI shoots and kills the pyro. They figure out he was sent to pretty much burn down Silvermane's house and try to kill him. Silvermane, Brandon Gleason, I believe is his name. Perfect. It's a great boss to have. So they get through that. They're working their way, figuring out why this is happening. Yada yada yada. He gets another job to look after this dude's wife. I think, he obviously is calling out, like, are you rich? Is you an ugly mug? And this girl's beautiful. Cat Hardy or whatever. So he's tracking her down, figures out that the mayor's messing with her. He does like a crazy web shot and runs off after seeing like that it's not cheating. Like it's definitely something else going on. Starts to connect some of the dots, and he's like, I don't want to mess with this. Cat Hardy gets a really long singing scene. It was good. She can sing. It was fun. But and they start to, connect dots. He's putting it out there like, hey, he starts to figure out like, okay, we gotta sell these. He pretty much gets to a point. His secretary tells him like, we gotta try to sell these pictures to her because we gotta make some money. She about to quit. They're not making any money. So he goes up to Cat Hardy, hey, yada yada yada. I got these photos. And yeah. So Flint Marco comes up. And it's pretty much like her bodyguard. And hold on a second. Sorry about that. So Flint Marco comes up, and that's like her, her muscle. And they have a pretty good little. That's when he does like the whole, kill himself, but he's too much of a wuss thing. And he walks off. Flint Marco follows. I will say the Flint Marco is a little goofy. Like maybe it's just the black and white. Maybe it looked better in the true hue. But especially that first time, it's like, I don't know. It looks like cat litter on his face. It doesn't look great to me. But like when you see him, excuse me, when you see him in the second episode, it looks a lot more like concrete. And so it does work out, I think. I have to keep saying it. And he keeps talking about certain things, so we'll get to that. So they get into a big fight. Obviously Ben Reilly isn't going to, he's not suited up or anything. So they're kind of going at it, it was a good action fight. He ends up getting thrown off, uses his webs. I still can't tell if they're organic or I think that they're mechanical, but I don't think they showed anything to let you know. Anyways, so he does that, swings around, beats up Flint Marco. Weirdest part, Cat just knows where they are. Like they walked for a while, then they went to a top of a building. Like they're fighting on the roof. So it's like, how did she? Whatever. She tells him, leave him alone, pretty much. I'm like, why? You wanted him to beat his ass and get the photos. So he's done. And then he gives the photos to him for free, which pisses off, his secretary. And I think that's pretty much the rest of episode 1. It kind of ended abruptly. I'll say that. And you get into episode 2, and you can tell they're trying to, like, figure out why the pyro was doing what he was doing, what's going on with Silvermane, stuff like that. Flint Marco did mention, or actually, no, because the one girl comes back and wants to hire Ben Reilly. Cat comes back and wants to hire Ben Reilly. So they're talking about it, and she's saying, like, Flint Marco got his powers about 6 months ago. And then, so they're going over, just the stuff going on with him and why. And he's willing to take the job, obviously. She's going to pay him well. So he goes on, he's looking for Flint. And he's got Robbie Robertson. Robbie Robertson's actor does a great job as well. He eats the most ketchup I've ever seen on a piece of bread. Don't ever do that again. That was so freaking gross. Anyways, Robbie Robertson's looking into the pyro guy a little bit more, trying to find his wife. Ben Riley's looking into the Silvermane stuff and the Flint Marco stuff. And you get an introduction to Tombstone, which the Tombstone actor is awesome. He also mentions that he has powers 6 months ago. Or no, the wife says to Robbie Robertson that the pyro got his powers 6 months ago. And I was like, oh, so this is obviously like something happened. There's like a contamination or something happened. So they are doing their own things. The second episode felt a little bit more all over the place, but it did. There was a couple shots where it made it look like lots, but it was super stylized. That was the time where I noticed, like, oh, this show is stylized. It's very much what it wants to be, and it does a good job of it. The writing's good. The way it looks and directed, the photography is really well done. Like, the DP obviously knew what he was doing. This is the people from Into the Spider-Verse, Across Spider-Verse, all that stuff. So, well, they're the executive producers. It's not them, but you know what I mean. It was going to be good. I think it was going to be good. But you're really setting up story. I think that's what we've done in these first 2 episodes is set up what we're doing. I don't think Silvermane is going to end up being the final villain. If you guys didn't see yet, actually one of the best parts to me was knowing that he got to the point, Silvermane's people break into Ben Riley's office and threaten his assistant, his secretary, and the secretary decides, like, after that, fuck it, I'm done again. And understandable, absolutely. But I think in that moment, he's kind of like, all right, I gotta protect her. So he goes back to his old apartment because he decided to put his Spider-Man costume in, like, the wall. And I guess he doesn't live there anymore, which I didn't know that either. Like, it was kind of weird how that happened too. But he shows up at his old apartment and he looks goofy as shit, trying to be the plumber. But that's Nick Cage. He just works so well. But he goes in there, breaks the wall. It's a goofy little scene. He finds his suit, leaves. The guy's like, I don't think he was a plumber. And then his wife is all irritated with him. It was a funny scene. So he gets his suit, which I'm like, awesome. We'll maybe see at the very end of the episode, go into the next episode, and we'll start seeing maybe a little bit more of it. No, like right after that, Robbie Robertson, finds the wife. She talks about all that. She already knew he was dead, pretty much, like the pyro, and yeah. So you see Ben Riley decide that he wants to go after Silvermane. It's a really fun scene. I think it's been in the trailers where he's on top of the cars, throwing them out, and gets in the car to talk to Silvermane. And I was just shocked. I was pleasantly surprised that you got a full action scene of him in the suit in episode 2. Because it just doesn't feel like you get that a lot of television comic stuff. Like, even Daredevil, it took him forever. So, yes, it was great. It was really, really fun. I think they set it up well. He finds out that somebody tipped off. I didn't think that they showed who or why. Somebody tipped off that he was going to be there. Silvermane was going to be there for this drug bust or alcohol deal, whatever it was. But Ben Riley scared him away by popping up on him. So he got to get away and didn't get caught. And now Ben Riley's like, what have I done? And that was the end of the episode. I think they set it up good. It made him still question why he decided to come back as Spider-Noir, the Spider, as they call it in this. And I'm excited to see where it goes, man. I think they got a lot of potential. So I'm going to be back in a little while. I'm going to post this. I'm going to go watch 3 and 4. maybe 5. We'll see. Probably 3 and 4. Come do another video in here in a little while. So please, all the likes and subscribe crap if you want to. I would appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers just so I can start going live with stuff. But yeah, I'll be back in a little while. I'm going to go enjoy some more Spider-Noir. Take it easy, guys.